Hello Palians and welcome back to my channel. I've been playing Palia for a very long time now, and I have sunk a lot of hours into the game, and that got me thinking, what are some things that I will never do in Palia ever again? I've learned from my mistakes, and yes, a lot of them have been made along the way, so today I'm going to talk through some of the things that you should never do in Palia, and hopefully this will help you out and make things a little bit easier for you. Don't forget to like and also subscribe if you want more Palia content, but let's get to seeing what mistakes I've made. So the first thing I will never do again is be lazy when it comes to maximizing potential profits on items. Long gone are the days when you could get rich quickly simply by attending a cake party. But now the gold cap has been significantly increased, there is no reason why we should not all have healthy gold balances. Unless of course you have a Zeke coin addiction, but we will talk about that in another video. Palia definitely does make us work hard for our money, but there are maybe some things that you could be doing right now for no extra work that could be earning you more money passively. Obviously this does apply to your farm, and that's a pretty obvious one. If able, you should be turning those crops into preserves or seeds and sell them for extra profit. I do tend to keep a few of each crop in my inventory just in case for cooking, but pretty much all of the time I now have my preserve jars on the go, churning out some delicious pickled potatoes or whatever other pickled variety there is. But where a lot of people may be falling short or forgetting is those items that you collect from mining, hunting and even foraging. I very rarely sell stone in its raw fashion. Instead, turning it into glass will make you 3 profit, and even turning 2 stone into 1 brick will make you 1 piece of profit. I have also recently invested in a second loom because all of that Cernic hide I've been collecting, I am now turning into leather. You actually get 2 pieces of extra gold per 1 piece of hide, and silk is fast becoming one of my favorite ways to make an income. It takes 5 silk threads to make 1 piece of silk, and silk thread individually sells for 22 gold, but 1 piece of silk sells for 225 gold. So if you do the maths, that is a very impressive markup. You might be thinking, but that's hard to come by. Well, I'll tell you this now. Run around Bahari at night or even catch those bugs while mining and you will soon rack it up. So the moral of the story is, do not sleep on your machines and make sure you're turning those raw resources into things before selling them, and your bank balance will thank me later. I like to decorate in any game, but I really like to decorate in Palia, and honestly, I can't really fault much of the decorating in this game. The items are beautiful and I love the free placement, but one thing I do have an issue with is the plot limit. So if you didn't know, your plot has an overall limit of 3,000 items, and underneath that arching limit you'll find that you can place a maximum of 1,000 building blocks, and you cannot place more than 500 flowers. You can definitely create beautiful things with this limit, and trust me, I've seen them, and I really don't want to scare people, but I have had a few friends that have been super disappointed when they get to the limit on their plots and they cannot finish their current project. And these builds are amazing, so they really can't bring themselves to tear it apart. Thankfully, I have only reached a flower limit on 1 plot, so I haven't yet fallen victim to the overall limit, and I think that is because I've seen these mistakes and I feel so sorry for people who have kind of reached this. And as a person who loves to clutter, I have tried to tone down my builds a bit, so the biggest piece of advice I can give is don't be too ambitious. Don't think about building like a giant castle that's going to overtake all of your plot. Like, think about what you are building. Can you tone it down a little bit, because you don't want to reach that item limit. Like if you're thinking about building a whole entire village and you want a super detailed plot, maybe just have smaller houses or keep your garden areas more minimalistic. Or alternatively, I have been having different plots with different themes. Yes, it does mean that you need to expand the plots and purchase them, but right now I have a coastal plot, a witchy cottage, and even a dedicated crafting plot. I just feel like having things spread out means I am less likely to hit that dreaded number. I know there will be lots of you that are in the comments going, but I like to have things all together. Trust me, you do get used to it, having to move between the different plots to go to different things. I am a very forgetful person, so it is a little bit painful, but after a while, you will thank me for not having to worry about that limit. The next thing I want to talk about is not spending money willy-nilly and remembering to craft. It's kind of like one hand goes in the other with this. So I spoke about money earlier, and if you're thinking, why is my bank balance constantly very low and you're not buying lots of Ziki coins all the time, have a think about what you're buying generally. I have been so guilty of this in the past. I am trying to be better, trying to think about if I actually need something before I buy it, and not just walk into Titch's store and then willy-nilly buy everything when I probably have maybe 10 of the same items sat at home, and I also have the resources to craft it in my inventory. Now, I will say some of the furniture items that you find in Tish's shop, sometimes it does make sense to purchase them, because if you don't have too much pallium or you don't have a bunch of clay sat waiting to be smelted, then yes, go ahead, buy those tiny little bottles, buy those fancy Bellwood furniture items, but definitely think about buying that wood bench that you can probably craft from chopping one tree. Don't fact check me on that. I don't know if that's accurate. Another thing that I am guilty of though is paying gold to repair my tools. And I do this a lot. Even if I have the repair kit sat in my inventory, I don't know why I'm like this, let's not question it. But the repair kits are so cheap to craft, and I definitely need to remind you guys, as someone who is a sucker for paying out of pocket, go and craft them. Definitely go and craft them. Buying things unnecessarily also applies to seeds. I very rarely buy seeds now because they are so expensive when you think about it in the grand scheme of things. When you can just go and put some vegetables into your seed makers and then you have your own, and it's like a continuous cycle. So if you're early on and you haven't unlocked the seed makers, definitely do it. And one of the most obvious is resources. I've seen a few people do this because they have these elaborate build ideas, and maybe that is different, but buying materials gets expensive very quickly. So unless you are in desperate need for fabric or something like that, I definitely recommend finding your own, growing that cotton, finding that silk thread, getting that stone, because you will also get other benefits from it now. The game has come a long way since we first started. If you're mining for stone, you might get gems, which you can then sell for more money. If you're hunting bugs, and obviously to get the silk, you can sell the bugs, and it kind of works that way. Getting the wood, you might find the amber to sell. So definitely think about what you're doing. Remember to craft that furniture, remember to get those resources. Don't buy stuff that you don't need. The next thing is something I am very bad at in pretty much all the games I play, just ask my Animal Crossing villagers, but this is of course not talking to NPCs. This is a huge mistake, and it's actually a really easy way to get your levels up. I have in the past complained about not getting the cute friendship level rewards, but I have myself entirely to blame for that because I don't actually talk to them or give them anything. So my advice is, firstly, don't be like me, and if you're running into Kilima or Bahari and you see a villager, stop and talk to them. Or if you're at that right friendship level, give them a cheeky little flirt. After I was stricter with myself and kept saying, talk to them, I soon found that my friendship levels were increasing. If you are struggling to find their weekly wants as well, especially if you're newer to the game, because some of those items can be quite rare, so maybe even chuck a random item or two as a gift towards them, and that will bump up the friendship level even more. I did find quite a few villagers who were partial to a pickled potato. If you follow this, before you know it, you will have those desirable friendship level items, and honestly, they're pretty cool. So cool that I would like more of them. Hint, hint, devs. Very similar to my last point is not ignoring your weekly achievements. If you don't know, completing weekly achievements will award you with medals, which can be spent at certain NPC stores, and some of these items, frankly, in my opinion, are the best furniture pieces in the game. Of course, you do get some medals from leveling up your skills, but your weekly achievements award gives you a nice little extra bonus that will soon help you get enough to buy that beautiful koi pond or the well from Badru. So please make sure that you're doing doing these on a weekly basis, and now with the house tours, there's even a little bit of an extra incentive to do the house tours as well, so you can get some nameplates and get some items from the house tour store because they're pretty good items as well. At the moment, I'm trying hard to complete some of the achievements I have left. One of the hardest ones I've encountered is all of the starred fish and starred bugs. This is a serious grind, be prepared. I soon learned whilst doing this that I can make it so much easier on myself by using items that provide buffs in the game. When it comes to fishing, my preferred combination of items is the Fisherman's Brew and also the Major Safe Zone Size Booster, which you can purchase for 5 fishing medals from Enar, which may sound a lot, but it is so worth it when you are trying to catch those harder fish, because there is nothing more frustrating than sitting for hours trying to catch a certain fish and then it escapes. Using these buffs also applies to mining Palium and also bugs. Using the resource ore compass is so handy, and I would not have caught half the bugs I have without the help of a honey lure or a buzzy jar. Trust me when I say catching the gossamer veiled moth nearly killed me. It was awful, but we got there in the end. It was so hard to catch that bug, and I don't know why. As a Stardew player, I forever had the Wikipedia open, constantly referring to stuff and searching to get a better idea of what I was doing in the game and what the best things to do were. And as a Palia player, I have found myself turning to this more and more. So the next tip is don't go blind into the game. There is a lot to know, a lot to learn, so don't be afraid to Google things. If you need help with a quest, that's fine. Sometimes we all need a bit of a walkthrough, or use websites that will tell you when and where a certain item will spawn until you kind of get to understand the game and how things kind of work, because now I can probably name off a lot of things that I don't need help with. But obviously, don't be that person that gets themselves banned for using mods that go against the terms and conditions. There are great resources out there that don't break these terms and conditions, and they are just simply websites, so you can open them up on your phone or have them on another browser whilst you're playing, and they will be so helpful to you. One of my favorite websites is one that tells you where the daily rummage piles are, because running around just to find those rummage piles can be a bit of work. But there are also sites out there that can help you plan your farm for maximum profitability. That's a hard word to say. And the resource maps to show you what may spawn in certain locations. There are also some wonderful player made graphics that I've seen floating around to help you learn things like which bugs drop which flowers, and even which emote reactions on the Housespot tours award which nameplates. Things like this are definitely worth saving. I will link a few of these in my description below just to help you out a bit, just so you can save them or bookmark them, whatever works for you. My next point is not necessarily a mistake that I think I have made. I don't think I've necessarily done anything bad, and I do try and consciously avoid this, but this is generally don't be a bad player. This is a multiplayer game and there are others around you, so do try and be a good team player. A key thing about this is player etiquette, and there are a few things that this really applies to. I think the key things are not trying to chop down groves without everyone who is there wanting to partake, not stealing hot pot table spots, and it's always nice to call out rare items or at least flare them. I think being a good player also extends to helping others out. You don't have to go out of your way to do this, but if someone asks a question in the chat and you know the answer, it's nice to respond to them so that they feel like there is a community there. Or if you do have plenty of resources, why not check out the request boards and share some materials with others? Generally, the community is always pretty welcoming, and it's really nice to see positive interactions with people on servers, so also don't be that rude player. The generic phrase of treating others with how you wish to be treated springs to mind, because trust me, if you have a bad interaction with someone, I think people are going to remember your name, so you don't want to be that person. But yeah, the moral of the story is be nice, help each other out. In In the last few updates, we've seen some great additions that have enhanced playing in a party, and I think this has kind of changed the way that I view partying now, so don't kind of sleep on how important this actually is. Recently, I've definitely been playing more as a party rather than going out on trips solo, and I've noticed that activities as a group are significantly more rewarding, and I do find my pockets filling faster, particularly when it comes to hunting, which, let's face it, can be a bit hard when you're by yourself. The double loot feature obviously helps with this as well, because even though it's a small chance, it can sometimes double like your Palium or your resources that you're getting. Thankfully, I have a great group of friends within my Discord who put up with my antics of constantly running off when we are trying to be in a party. But if you don't have a group of friends, there is still ways that you can party up. I frequently see people asking on servers if they want to go as like a group for hunting, so you can team up. Sometimes you just have to kind of put yourself up there or say yes or just agree to things. I know there are a lot of you out there that don't want to play as a group, and that is fine. I'm not going to tell you how to play the game, and I do really understand the anxiety that comes along with asking people to join you, but I just wanted to pop this here just in case people are sleepy on how valuable working together can be. So there we have it. There are some things I won't be doing in Palia. I have learned from my mistakes, and hopefully I can be a better player because of it. Let me know in the comments if there's any big mistakes that you would avoid and not do again now that you know better. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.